As time went by, the conversation took a different turn. It's easy to let your blood boil when someone starts to throw words that triggers you. In today's video, I'm going to be answering a question that I got. The question is, how do you stay elegant when a conversation gets heated? This question hits home for me, and this is because I have found myself in social gatherings where the conversation got heated. Recently, I was at a dinner table where the conversation started great. Everyone was sharing interesting stories from their experiences to life lessons and of course transformations that they feel everyone should get involved in. But as time went by, the conversation took a different turn as people started sharing differences in opinion. And if not careful, the choice of words that were being thrown out will ruin potential relationships even before it starts. And knowing how quick conversations like this can get chaotic, I quickly keyed into the 5 practical ways that I have learned to stay charming when conversations get heated. First, I want you to know this. There will be times when you find yourself in conversations that will lead into an argument. And it's easy to say, oh, I want to avoid arguments. I don't want to find myself in arguments. You can't avoid arguments all your life, but you can learn to manage it. You can learn to express your views and your opinions without being demeaning, without being insultive, or without feeling less about yourself. So, one of the first things you want to learn how to do is soften your tone and stay relaxed. See, it's easy to let your blood boil when someone starts to throw words that triggers you or insults you. That will mean you bringing yourself down to their level. When there are arguments, some people tend to throw insultive words. Some people tend to raise their voice. That's not the time for you to match their volume or to match their energy. What you want to do is remain calm, remain relaxed, soften your tone. So the more they raise their voice, the more you bring your tone down. Subconsciously, what you notice is that they start to bring their voice down to your level. So because they can't hear what you're saying, rather than give that energy, that power to them, you want to take control of the situation. The second thing you want to do is to separate your opponent from the subject. When you are in an argument, it's easy for you to forget the fact that it's a conversation. A topic came up and both of you have different perspectives. For some people, the moment the conversation starts, they start to attack you. They tell you how wrong you are, how incapable you are. Some even go as far as saying, it's funny how you think. I'm disappointed in your thought process. You see, when you start to make those statements, what you're doing is attacking the person rather than attack the subject, rather than talk about what the point of the conversation is. And you do not want to find yourself in that kind of situation. As a high value person, as an elegant person, you know the difference between the person you're having a conversation with and the subject in question. So you are not attacking, you don't have a fight with that person, you have no issue with that person. The issue you have is with the subject, the topic, the perspective that the person is talking about. So instead of saying, the issue I have with you is, you want to reframe your language and say, here is the issue I have with that idea. So you don't have an issue with the person. You have an issue with that idea. You have an issue with the perspective that the person has shared. Because a lot of times, we ruin relationships with people. We ruin connections with people when we are in an argument or a conversation and we do not know how to express our views and opinion without actually attacking the person. We throw caution out of the window and forget that when this conversation is over, we want to shake hands with the person and say, that was an amazing conversation. That was an amazing insight. I enjoyed your perspective. I enjoyed the banter that we have. Because mature people will always have differences in conversation, difference of opinion about a subject. But you do not ruin the relationship. You do not ruin a potential friendship by attacking the person. The third point is that you want to start with the part that you agree with. You want to share your view, your opinion, your perspective about the subject. before you jump into that point, before you jump into sharing your perspective, it's important, it's valuable for you to state the positive part of their view that you agree with, the perspective that you have in connection with them. So you can say, this is a very important issue and I see your point, I see your perspective. Here is how I am thinking about it. So when you acknowledge their view first, before you jump in with your opinion, you make them feel heard. You make their point valuable as well. Now imagine if someone talked down your views and point of wanting to share their own perspective, to tell you how irrelevant your views are. All that do to you, it triggers a defense mechanism in you. You get upset, you get agitated, because rather than respect your own view and opinion, the person has just talked down your view just to share theirs. So what you want to do differently is that you want to state the positive part of their perspective that you agree with before you share your own views. That way you're saying, I heard you, I understand where you're coming from, and here is how I am thinking of it as well. The fourth thing you want to do is to be humbly curious. You see, curiosity not only opens the mind of the person that you're speaking with, it allows them express themselves more. When we ask power questions, when we ask people questions that enable them express their views, not only do they feel appreciated, they feel that you connect with them, you are listening to them, you see them, and you want to hear their perspective. So instead of coming with the let me tell you why you are wrong attitude, what you want to do is you want to ask them a question that allows them express themselves more. A lot of times during arguments, because the conversation is heated, people don't tend to share their views in a way that helps you understand what they're trying to say, especially when they're agitated, they feel they're not being heard, no one is listening to them or allowing them express themselves more. So when you ask questions, you give them the opportunity to express themselves in different ways. You can ask one question from different angles so that they can express themselves more. And at that point, you say, okay, yes, I think I see where you're coming from. I see your perspective now. And at the end of this conversation, the part that I love the most, the fifth part is where you end the conversation with something I call the positive verbal marker. A lot of times during the conversation, we listen to people's opinion and perspective. And when we end the conversation, we don't end on a good note. We don't end with something that makes them feel good, not only to be a part of that conversation, but to have met you. So one of the things I do is I highlight a positive part of them. It could be something they said during the conversation. It could be the passion that they come in with. So I can say something like, it was an amazing conversation with you. I enjoyed your perspective and I really appreciate the fact that you're passionate about this subject. And you can say something like, thank you for sharing that perspective with me. Even though I didn't get to that point with you, I didn't see it that way, I do appreciate the passion that you have for the subject. When you leave people with a positive marker, with a positive highlight, you make them feel good, you make them feel heard, you also make them associate you with positivity. And at the end of the day, when they leave that conversation, they remember you for how you connected with them in that conversation, how you were able to handle yourself as well as handle the subject, how you're able to express your own point of view, and at the end of the day, how you ended with something positive. I hope this was helpful. I hope this is something you're going to try in your next conversation. So when you find yourself at a social gathering, you find yourself at a dinner table where the conversation is heated, do remember to try these practical tips. Remember to subscribe, click the notification bell so you can get an update every time I post a new video. And I'll see you.